Hmm. Yep. How good's footy? I guess. That's so. At the time of recording, the game's been done for about 15, 20 minutes. So you're not getting the morning after, which I'm sure would be more professional and polished and all of those things. And the voice isn't 100% okay. And I'm trying to be a little bit more quiet-ish because the little bloke is sleeping just down the hallway. So this is going to be pretty unhinged and off the top of the head, a bit like the Bulldogs' reaction. So think of that what you will. But right now, I think there's a sense of almost numbing calmness that's kicking in because for a game that was threatening to come down to an umpiring decision or a game that was going to come down to Darcy Byrne-Jones' heartbreak like earlier in the year, but to have the game have that kind of result and the fortifying lesson you take from it when the siren goes is we had our chances. I think it makes it better to deal with, nowhere near easier. But what a season is also coming to mind. The pride of the collective year shines through in a magnificent way. Some anger kicks in, some frustration. And for the neutrals out there, if you're watching this not as a Hawthorn supporter, there's probably a good feeling that this was the perfect result for you. So for the non-Hawthorn and Port fans here are probably thinking, you beauty, Port played in a way that probably does not threaten Sydney at all. That you had your every reason to think free kick Hawthorn was a thing for that second quarter, and my debate there would be, did you just forget the first one? Jimmy Warple's handball that was pinged and Dylan Moore's sling tackle that was holding the ball and all those kinds of things. But they become, I think, almost superficial now because on eye test, on vibe, on all of those things, even statistically, Port were the better team. And they should have won by more. I don't think you can find a football lover on the planet that can disagree with either of those statements. The game should have been done at quarter time. The fact that that was the best that Port could throw at the Hawks at that point, and as bad as everything went, and to still be a fortified chance was a blessing and had shadows of the 2014 prelim in which Port just couldn't kick a fat guy in a street fight when it came to goal kicking, and it largely felt the same here. And because Port won the game, and I still want to be, even in a reflective piece like this, complimentary to the winners. So I know I didn't talk about the Bulldogs basically at all in the elimination final recap. I am about some Port players here because they won, and I still think they deserve their flowers. So for sort of the five guys who I think deserve the most credit, in no particular order, Willie Rioli, Mitch Georgiades, Jace Burgoyne, Logan Evans was unfreaking believable, and Jordan Sweet, who did what Tim English failed to do, and that was make Lloyd Meek fine. Lloyd Meek was okay during the game. He wasn't special. He wasn't spectacular. He was fine. He was a player. He was neither a net positive or negative in such a way that swung the game. So Jordan Sweet gets a tick. That's the best game Jace Burgoyne's ever played, and the composure of Willie Rioli, centre forward, was unbelievable, and Mitch Georgiades was the only key forward that was worth a damn on the entire night. So credit to those guys, and I'm sure I'll bring them up more as I keep chatting, but I did want to take this moment and give them their flowers. You know, as to the Hawks themselves, so the three behinds in the last quarter, Sicily wrong side of the post, Sicily hitting the post, and then Dylan Moore hitting the post as well, heartbreaking. And I don't want blame, I think we can have anger and frustration, and I've got it, to some players, some key moments throughout the game. I've got that. But I don't think we can assign blame to one particular player, one particular moment, one particular thing, because the collective is the team that was 1-6 went to Adelaide against the team that was second on the ladder. And I never bought this, well, they got smashed last week, so it's a fait accompli. The write-off was extraordinary. And even when the stat of all 11 teams that have been smacked in a qualifying final have won the next week, even when that came out, it was like the media and some fans, not Hawthorn fans, but like some neutral fans out there went, wow, they're just going to walk in and walk all over them, which I think is a credit to what the Hawks had built throughout 2024, and especially throughout the last 15 weeks. So I can understand the joy that you can get out of that. Absolutely, I can. And again, the anger and the frustration is there. Dylan Moore's a better set shot than that. James Sicily's a better set shot than that. You know, to end the half, why would you go through the corridor? You know, is a big problem. Marby or Chol had two really bad finals, and if there is any Hawthorn fans out there that think to themselves or have ever thought to themselves, Mitch Lewis is injury prone, let's put him on the trade table, we're not winning a flag without him. I think that's pretty clear. You know, Jack Gunston, who was so good last week, just could get nowhere near it, so he became the tactical sub. That kind of sucks throughout the night, and some, you know, fundamental mistakes. You can also put it down to a bit of unluckiness as well. So the two kicks in the defensive half that bounced off Hawthorn players. I think the first one came off Amon, and then Hardwick kicked it into one of the Port players' backs, and the goal to Darcy Byrne-Jones. So shout out to Smithy, the first subscriber, who messaged me and he goes, Darcy Byrne-Jones is just the new Ben Ronk, isn't he? Which I thought was quite amusing, and it seems like that. He just plays well every time he plays the Hawks. So you know, a massive credit there. But let's sort of have the umpiring conversation, because, again, if you're not a Hawthorn fan, you're not going to agree with what I'm going to say. But what I don't want you to do is assume my opinion. Just let me explain it in its entirety, and then if you want to get into the comments and drag me for it, go for your life. But there was a genuine philosophical discussion that should have taken place but didn't on Friday night. And that was, what's worse, paying free kicks that may not be there, or not paying free kicks that are there? And weirdly enough, on both sides of the coin in the first half, they happened to the Hawks. They had decisions that should have been paid to them that weren't in the first quarter. And then in the second quarter, they got all of these decisions that probably weren't there. And again, I can completely understand the neutrals that go free kick Hawthorn. I find it hilarious, the amount of Bulldogs fans on Twitter that are going, free kick Hawthorn's back, like you pricks didn't get a flag gifted to you by whistleblowers. Anywho, so that was really interesting. And then the third quarter, the Marby or Chol out of bounds, which the boundary umpire's right there, and I would like to think with the curved boundary line has a better angle of it. So, is what it is. And the goals came from there. But again, I don't really think anyone's going to give a shit about that, because Port won, and on everything should have won. But I think the fraternity and the rules of the game and everything should be examined in a way that we ask ourselves, what is consistency? Because there was none. Zero, nada, none. And there were moments in that game where, as a Hawthorn fan, I felt gross. Like, really, that's being paid. And strangely enough, in my opinion, the worst one was probably the Jarman Impey chop of the arms on the wing, weirdly enough, where the camera angle that I saw, and I assume most other people did, I didn't see any contact to Jarman at all. I don't even remember if that resulted in a score, to be honest. But the Mabior Chol one, exacerbating the contact, look, those have been paid. And then you go, but the Dylan Moore one wasn't. So do we ask ourselves, should we have paid the Dylan Moore one, or should we not have paid the next Dylan Moore one in the Mabior Chol? Now, the rules and the interpretation tell you that the original umpiring decision was the error. Dylan Moore should have been paid dangerous tackle. I think Connor Rosé was the tackler. That should have been dangerous tackle. However, I think the footy fan in all of us, and I am leading the charge here, probably says you don't pay any of them. But we can't go off vibe, we go the rule book until we hit finals and we go off vibe. So I can completely understand the neutrals that are annoyed with the umpires, right? I don't think we as Hawthorn fans have any right to complain about any decision, especially when it comes to the deliberate. They had the deliberate inside 50. Jimmy Warple should have been pinged for the same thing. Should Will Lorenz have? Again, doesn't really matter because you had Ginnivan who bellied the ball, Moore and Sicily who missed their shots. So your season ends within your scoreboard control. And I still think that's okay, which I think was my original point of the video. In terms of players, I don't think I've been on a bigger roller coaster of emotion for one player than I did with Finn McGuinness tonight, who did such a good job at being on the last line of defense. Kicked a goal in the last quarter. And then there were fundamental spatial awareness and foot skill errors that made you want to tear your hair out. So that was pretty interesting. At Mabior Chol, who we spoke about, look, he's a number 2 forward, guys, as I've said. I know that he's going to get criticism, probably deserved, made Brandon Zerk-Thatcher look like Dustin Fletcher at times, so I can completely understand that. Beaten by your opponent 2 weeks in a row is not that great, especially when you're coming up against 2 teams whose key back stocks are not great. And if you think about what a Tommy McCartan could have done to him in a prelim, is pretty frightening, to be honest. So, not great there. A couple of other players didn't have great nights, but it's hard to think of too many that were just such a net negative on the night. But then on the flip side, it's hard to think of how many were such a great net positive. None more so than Jack Scrimshaw, by the way, who was so far Hawthorn's best player in the first half. It wasn't funny. I think he had 14 disposals and 350 metres gained, finished with 22 on the night. He was awesome. Blake Hardwick was absolutely fantastic again, Dimmer, who, yes, did spend some time on Willie Rioli, not the whole game. He was just taking the deeper small forward. He wasn't really following Willie all that much up the ground. But, yeah, I thought he was tremendous. I thought Harry Morrison did some really good things in the second half as well. I want to give him a bit of a shout-out. Massimo D'Ambrosio's final quarter was unreal, and that entry inside 50 to an uncontested Radaglia is not his fault. The ability to have the ball on a string and not go to ground and not get tackled. Why there wasn't a key forward at the top of the square, I've got no idea. But, again, probably going down a nitpicky path there, to be completely honest. But, again, there were some guys that didn't fire. Josh Ward didn't respond after last week. He was pretty good in the finals performance, so didn't do a whole lot to help himself there, unfortunately. Like I said, I thought Lloyd Meek was okay. He was fine. Cole Shadir didn't have the impact that he had last week, but I thought he provided a contest. Got the ball to ground a lot. Didn't get outmarked nearly as much as the more experienced key forward did. So, don't really know if we give him a tick across. Probably a question mark in that regard. And Nick Watson was unbelievable. I know Jai had 31. I think Jai's first 14 disposals only had 2 kicks in them, and one of them was in the corridor that did not go well in the end of the first half. So not fun in that regard. But yeah, the 3 best for the Hawks, and it's not even a question, was Scrimshaw, Hardwick, and Watson. So fun to watch. Guinea took his chances, which was awesome. Love it. Did belly the ball with one of his set shots, but it's not a hangable offence. Not really. Dylan Moore, statistically, was pretty good, but I don't think he's enhanced his reputation throughout the final series, and I love Morey, I really do. Again, I don't think he was a net negative in any kind of way, and I don't think he was a massive net positive. He was fine. And unfortunately, I think there were just too many operators on the night who were fine. You know, there's going to be a lot of talk, if there isn't already, around the Hawks just weren't at their best. And look, a lot of that was inflicted by Port Adelaide. Their tackle pressure was unbelievable. Darcy Byrne-Jones, Lockie Jones, Willem Drew, who I probably should have put in that initial group of 5, to be honest. We'll make it a half dozen heroes, kind of operation here. So they can have all the credit there, those 6. My goodness gracious me. Unbelievable, the redhead. Ollie Wines had some really good moments as well, for sure. And I do apologise, Port fans, if you've gotten this far, that I'm not really giving you the credit you deserve. I hope you can forgive me. I hope that I can, at some point this week, do the video that you guys deserve on such a good win. But I'm not really sure what else to say in terms of the game. Again, there's still sort of a calming numbness, or a numbing calmness, if you will, about the result. But this sucks. It hurts. Yeah, you come into the final series gambling with house money. I understand that. And I know that we're going to look at every single positive in the world that you can already think of. Got Battle and Barras who are going to come in. I thought Jai Sarong was really good tonight, actually. Credit to him. Look, Georgiades got some silver service on the night, where I don't care if it was Jai Sarong, Sam Frost, or friggin' Tom McCartan or Sam Taylor. A couple of those kicks from Willie to Mitch, no one's stopping that. So that's not Jai's fault, but his VFL form was rewarded, and I think he rewarded the Hawks in a net positive way. I think if you were a West Coast or a North, I think you would be getting a hold of his manager quite quickly and going, could he be someone that opposition clubs could go for, considering the 2 defenders that are coming in? You've still got Frost there. The Hawks really do like Ethan Phillips as well. Will McCabe, who I know is not a key defender, but is a James Sicily intercepting type. Makes me wonder if, with Battle and Barras coming in, do you play Sicily forward? Might be a conversation to ask yourself. Because again, it doesn't look like we're going to need a forward that's going to do like a Ben King and kick 60 plus and lead you to a flag. There's an argument to be made that you're probably only missing 6 goals for the year and you're into a prelim. You think of an extra goal against Collingwood or GWS or Port earlier in the year, an extra goal here, that's 4. You get those wins there, and we would have replaced Port second on the ladder. But again, we're getting into the hypotheticals here. So the year itself's been amazing. That's as much as this is going to suck, pretty much until the trade period where the optimism for 2025 is going to kick in. As much as this is awful, there's no real sense of one and done. Now, I sincerely hope the Hawks don't go down a Fremantle path of 2022. Got the amazing elimination final win, ironically, against the Bulldogs, like the Hawks did. Went down in the semi-final. Haven't been back since. Went on a dive in 23, missed out in 24. I hope the Hawks don't go down that path. I don't think they will, but I'm not going to fall into the same trap that I did with Adelaide this year. I know Adelaide didn't make the finals, but work with me. But this sucks. But right now, if you said to me, Daz, put the house on it, Sydney by 6 goals. Like, what evidence have we got that Port are going to be able to do to the best team in the comp? And I know you're going to think, well, they beat them by 112 points, Daz. Like, come on. We've got more info since then. Finals, another level. It just, vibe. It doesn't look like they'll get close. So it is what it is. So for the Hawks, we regroup. It'll be all right. I find it really fascinating that a lot of the social media stuff is like, finally the Hawks got humbled. And it's funny because no, they're not really coming from Sydney, Geelong, GWS or Brisbane fans. Not coming from those clubs, just the ones that are doing worse than us. And 13 cups since 1961, so stick it, as far as I'm concerned. Nothing humbling about this. We're 1-6 after round 7. You got no right to be there. We were there. Most of you didn't get as far as we did. So, is it a humbling? Is it knocking us off our perch? I hope not. But I really wish, with a hope and a prayer, that we could fast forward to round 1 next year against Essendon, because we want to make that a traditional starter. Just to see if the celebrations come out. Does the cockiness come out? What are the Hawks going to be like from an attitude point of view to start next year? It's going to be really interesting. But that's still a while away. So, I don't know if any of this has made sense. I hope it has, but it's just been everything that I've been kind of feeling post the siren. The season's over, that sucks. I am pumped to watch Brisbane GWS, and if you're watching this after the Brisbane GWS game, you'll know the result, but I'm pumped to watch that and react to it. I'll probably do a video on the something to do with the Brisbane GWS game on the Monday. Wednesday is going to be a draft video, something that I've been wanting to put together for a while, so that'll come out as well. And some exciting news. The new project. So I remember I asked you guys in the polls whether I should do Daz Talks Cricket or Horror, because I've been wanting to do both of those. A decision has been made by everyone involved at Daz HQ, which is effectively me and the missus. So I'm going to be really excited to announce that. But November 1st, there's going to be more Daz on YouTube, which hopefully you enjoy. And if you're a Hawthorn fan, heads up, hearts hurt. That's kind of where I'm at. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment below, let me know all of your thoughts. Like the video so more people can see it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Join the Daz Talks Footy family. If you want to see my latest video, I jumped on with Pommy and Oz and talked all things Carlton. You can check out my latest mock draft as well. The next one will be coming a couple of days before Grand Final Day, which will be really interesting, which will be really fun. And then there will be some really cool stuff. October, November is where Daz is going to go to another level. So I hope to see you around there. Cheerio. Good night. I hope I can sleep. See ya.